Every morning at 7 a.m., Marcus Hale becomes someone else. The transformation happens in stages, each movement practiced to the point of meditation. First, the shower, steam billowing until the bathroom mirror disappears. Then the navy suit, the fabric so fine it catches light like water. The tie comes next, winds are not pulled tight, each adjustment deliberate. The chrome watch clicks into place on his left wrist. Coffee, black, in the ceramic mug Olivia bought him for their 5th anniversary. He stands at the kitchen island where morning sun pools like honey, and the final piece locks into position, the smile. It's the kind of smile that belongs on magazine covers. Confident. Warm. The smile of a man who signs contracts in corner offices, who lunches with investors, who builds empires one handshake at a time. When Marcus turns that smile on Olivia, it's meant to say, everything is exactly as it should be. Big day ahead, he says, smoothing his lapel. His fingers linger there, just a second too long. The Riverside merger, you know how these things go. He kisses her cheek, his cologne expensive and familiar, and reaches for his leather briefcase with the practiced grace of routine. The door closes behind him with a soft, final click. Olivia stands alone in the kitchen, surrounded by the architecture of their perfect life, marble countertops, stainless steel appliances, framed photos of beach vacations and anniversary dinners. The house settles into silence, but the quiet feels different today. Heavier. Like the pause before thunder. She moves toward the laundry room, her fingers running along the wall for balance she doesn't need. In the basket, yesterday's white dress shirt lies crumpled. She lifts it to the light, and there it is again, the small, rust-colored stain near the collar, the kind of mark that doesn't come from paper cuts or kitchen accidents. Too dark. Too deliberate. She'd convinced herself it was nothing the first time. And the second. But this is the 3rd shirt in 2 weeks. Her hand trembles as she sets it down. There was also the phone call, the one that woke her at 3:17 a.m. 3 nights ago. She'd heard Marcus slip out of bed, seen the bathroom light snap on, heard the fan roar to life to drown his whispered conversation. When he returned 20 minutes later, she pretended to be asleep, and he pretended everything was normal. And then there's the money. Last week, checking the safe for their passports, she'd found an envelope. Cash. Thick, rubber-banded stacks that hadn't been there before. When she asked about it, Marcus's smile had flickered, just for a heartbeat, before returning full force. Bonus, he'd said. Wanted to surprise you. Olivia walks to the front window and watches his car disappear down their tree-lined street, the burgundy sedan blending into the flow of morning traffic. For 10 years, that smile has been her compass, her proof that they were winning at life. But standing here now, surrounded by evidence she can no longer ignore, she realizes something that makes her stomach drop. She doesn't know where her husband goes when he leaves each morning. She doesn't know whose blood is on his collar. She doesn't know why the man she married, the man who quotes Neruda over breakfast and slow dances with her in the kitchen, has started flinching when she touches his ribs. The smile, she understands now, isn't a gift. It's a disguise. And today, for the first time in their marriage, Olivia Hale decides to discover what her husband has been hiding behind it. The silence in the wake of the closing door is the first thing that betrays the lie. It is a sterile, manufactured quiet that belongs in a gallery, not a home. Olivia looks at the breakfast table, where 2 porcelain plates sit in symmetrical perfection, and realizes their entire life has become a set piece. Marcus is the leading man, playing the role of the titan of industry with such devotion that he has convinced even himself. But as she looks at the high-ceilinged foyer, the crown molding, and the expensive art they chose together, she sees only the overhead. The mortgage on this house is a beast that needs to be fed every 30 days, a hungry mouth that doesn't care about market fluctuations or corporate restructuring. She remembers the way Marcus talked about the Riverside merger last night, the technical jargon, the names of board members, the projected growth. He was fluent in the language of success, yet his eyes had remained strangely fixed on the far wall, never quite meeting hers. It occurs to her now that she hasn't seen him truly relaxed in months. Even when they sleep, he remains on his side of the bed, stiff and guarded, as if afraid that in the vulnerability of dreams, he might let a secret slip. She reaches out to touch the leather chair where he sat just moments ago. It is still warm, a lingering ghost of the man who just left, but the warmth feels borrowed. If you're finding yourself holding your breath along with Olivia, perhaps it's because we all know that feeling, the quiet realization that the person closest to us might be a stranger. It's a journey into the unknown, and I'm glad you're here to walk it with her. Perhaps you'll consider staying for the rest of the story by subscribing as we uncover the truth together. Olivia returns to the laundry basket, the crumpled shirt now a focal point of her growing dread. She doesn't just look at it this time, she inspects it like a forensic analyst. Near the hem, tucked away where it would be tucked into his trousers, she finds a jagged tear in the fabric. It's small, but the edges are stained with a darker, more concentrated brown. Her breath hitches. This wasn't a snag on a desk or a spilled glass of Cabernet. She moves to their ensuite bathroom, compelled by a morbid curiosity she can no longer suppress. In the depths of the vanity cabinet, hidden behind a stack of unopened cologne boxes, she finds a small plastic kit. Inside isn't aspirin or bandages for a paper cut. There is a roll of athletic tape, smelling faintly of wintergreen and sweat, and a professional-grade mouthguard, still slightly damp. The sight of it is a physical blow. A mouthguard belongs in a gym, in a ring, in a clash of bone and sinew, not in the briefcase of a corporate executive. Beneath the tape, she finds a discarded wrapper for a heavy-duty topical anesthetic. Her mind races, trying to bridge the gap between the man who wears a Windsor knot and the man who needs to numb his own skin before the sun goes down. The search moves to the bedroom closet, a space of cedar-lined order. Olivia feels like a trespasser in her own marriage as she reaches into the pocket of Marcus's winter coat, hung deep in the back. Her fingers brush against something cold and rectangular. She pulls out a cheap, prepaid flip phone, a burner. It vibrates in her hand as if on cue, a single notification lighting up the small, low-resolution screen. The take is 2K tonight. Venue changed to the docks. 9 p.m. Be ready to bleed for it. The words are a serrated edge against her heart. The take. The venue. This wasn't a business meeting or a merger. It was a transaction of a different kind. She scrolls through the sent messages, her eyes blurring. They are short, clinical, and devoid of the Marcus she knows. I'm in. Send the location. Price is too low for a 3-round set. Olivia sinks onto the floor, the burner phone clutched to her chest. The man who quotes Neruda and slow dances in the kitchen is communicating in the dialect of the underworld. She realizes with terrifying clarity that the cash in the safe wasn't a bonus, it was combat pay. At 8:15 p.m., Marcus announces a late-night strategy session. He dons a fresh suit, applies the smile like a fresh coat of paint, and kisses her goodbye. This time, Olivia is ready. She waits exactly 4 minutes before slipping into her own car, a nondescript SUV he rarely drives. She keeps 3 cars back, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. She watches as his sedan bypasses the glittering glass towers of the financial district, heading instead toward the skeletal remains of the industrial sector. The streetlights grow sparse here, flickering over boarded-up warehouses and rusted shipping containers. Marcus drives with a focused intensity, weaving through the desolate streets until he pulls into the shadows of a crumbling brick structure near the water. There are no valets here, no marble lobbies. Only the smell of salt, oil, and decay. Olivia drapes a dark scarf over her head, pulls her coat tight and steps out into the biting wind. She watches her husband, her executive husband, discard his briefcase in the trunk and pull a hooded sweatshirt over his dress shirt, disappearing into the maw of the building. The interior of the warehouse is a labyrinth of rot and dampness. Olivia follows the distant, rhythmic thud of music and the low roar of a crowd she can't yet see. The air is thick with the smell of unwashed bodies and cheap cigarettes. She navigates the corridors, her heels clicking too loudly on the concrete until she abandons them, moving in stocking feet through the grime. She finds a rusted metal staircase and climbs it, her hands trembling as they grip the cold railing. From the mezzanine, she looks down into a central pit illuminated by harsh, swinging industrial lights. A makeshift ring has been cordoned off with heavy nautical rope. Men in stained t-shirts and leather jackets lean against the pillars, clutching wads of cash. It is a scene of raw, unfiltered aggression, a million miles away from the manicured lawns of their suburb. In the center of the ring, a man is being announced. Olivia leans forward, her breath catching in her throat, praying she is wrong, praying this is all a fever dream. Sometimes the truth is a weight we aren't prepared to carry, a revelation that shatters everything we thought we knew about the people we love. If you've ever felt the ground shift beneath you, you know Olivia's pain. It's a moment of profound vulnerability that changes a person forever. The announcer shouts a name, the suit. And Marcus Hale steps into the light. Olivia's world tilts. He begins to strip, but it isn't the graceful movements of their bedroom. He tears off the hoodie, then the dress shirt, tossing them aside like trash. Beneath the fabric, his body is a map of trauma. Deep, yellowish bruises bloom across his ribs, a jagged, poorly stitched scar runs along his shoulder blade. He looks lean, hard, and desperately tired. He wraps his hands in the same athletic tape Olivia found in the bathroom, his movements mechanical and grim. There is no smile now. His face is a mask of cold, focused iron. He looks like a man who has checked his soul at the door and left only the animal behind. As his opponent, a massive, scarred man with tattoos creeping up his neck, enters the ring, Marcus doesn't flinch. He simply stares through him, his jaw set in a line of pure, agonizing determination. Olivia realizes with a jolt of horror that he isn't fighting for sport, he is fighting for his life. The bell is a harsh, clanging sound that signals the start of the slaughter. It isn't a boxing match, it's a brawl. Olivia watches, paralyzed, as Marcus takes a brutal hook to the jaw that sends him reeling against the ropes. The crowd roars, a primal sound of bloodlust that makes her want to scream. He recovers, ducking a swing and landing a sharp, desperate jab to the other man's ribs. She sees the sweat flying off his skin under the lights, the way his breath comes in ragged, pained gasps. Every time he is hit, Olivia feels the impact in her own marrow. He is smaller than the other man, but he refuses to go down. He fights with a frantic, cornered energy, taking 2 hits just to land one. She sees him glance toward the corner of the room, toward the exit, and she realizes he is counting the seconds until he can collect his envelope and leave. He is selling his body, piece by piece, to pay for the marble countertops and the beach vacations. He is bleeding so they can keep pretending they are winning. The fight ends in a chaotic blur of limbs and a final, sickening thud. Marcus is standing, though barely, his face a mess of crimson and swelling. He takes the envelope of cash from a man at the edge of the ring and stumbles toward the shadows. Olivia is already there, waiting at the base of the stairs. When he sees her, the last of his strength seems to evaporate. He doesn't try to hide it. He doesn't reach for the smile. He simply sags against a brick pillar, the blood from a cut above his eye dripping onto his bare chest. Olivia, he whispers, his voice cracked and raw. The firm let me go 6 months ago, he says before she can even ask. The merger, it was a lie. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't let you see me fail. He looks down at the blood-stained money in his hand with utter loathing. I just wanted to keep our world together. He is no longer the Titan, he is just a broken man in a basement, terrified of the judgment in his wife's eyes. The drive home is the loudest silence Olivia has ever experienced. Marcus sits in the passenger seat, a bag of frozen peas pressed to his face, his breathing shallow. Back in their perfect kitchen, under the honey-hued lights, the reality of their life feels like a grotesque parody. She cleans his wounds with shaking hands, the scent of antiseptic replacing the sandalwood of his cologne. Why, Marcus, she asks, her voice barely a whisper. Because you looked at me like I was a hero, he says, his voice thick with shame. And I knew if I lost the job, if we lost the house, you'd see me for what I really am. A man who couldn't provide. Olivia looks at him, really looks at him, and sees the burden she helped create. Her own need for the perfect life, her pride in their status, had built the walls of his prison. They had both been actors in a play that had turned into a tragedy. We often forget that the people we love are carrying weights we can't see, sometimes because we've asked them to carry them for us. It takes a rare kind of courage to set those weights down and stand together in the rubble of a broken dream, and as we move toward their final chapter, I want to thank you for honoring their story with your time and your heart. 3 months later, the 7 a.m. sun hits a different kitchen. This one is smaller, the countertops are laminate, and the view is of a modest backyard rather than a landscaped estate. But the air in the house is light. Marcus is dressed in a simple button-down shirt and chinos, preparing for his shift at a local logistics firm. It's not a corner office, and there are no empires to build, but the paycheck is honest and the hours are clear. He doesn't spend 20 minutes in front of the mirror anymore. He doesn't check the Windsor knot because there isn't one. As he finishes his coffee, he turns to Olivia. She sees the faint shadow of a scar near his eye, a permanent reminder of the basement, but his face is clear. When he smiles at her now, it doesn't reach for a magazine cover. It's a small, tired, genuine expression that says, I am here, and I am enough. He kisses her, not a practiced routine, but a lingering connection, and walks out the door. Olivia watches him go, and for the first time in years, she doesn't feel the need to follow. She knows exactly who he is, and more importantly, he knows he doesn't have to be anyone else. The mask is gone, and in its place, they have finally found their home. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much I enjoyed creating it. Like, share, and comment on the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. See you in my next